Returning to reality after a heavenly honeymoon is never fun. But when your parents start guilt tripping you about the family business not, going so great when you were gone, and then a policeman darkens your door, it feels like things can't get worse until you're asked to identify a body. Quinn McFarland hits the ground running in Mrs. Oliver's Twist, the latest from our guest, Saralyn Richard. Welcome to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews. I'm Sharon Lynn, and welcome to you, Saralyn.
Thank you so much, and thank you to Blackbird Writers for hosting me.
So glad to have you here. We talked about the first in this series, Bad Blood Sisters, and I loved that. And this one is just takes it up a notch. It's amazing. So this is book two in the series. Do you feel like readers have to read Bad Blood Sisters, which they should because it's awesome, or can they just jump into this and then go back to Bad Blood Sisters?
All of my books you can just jump into. I make sure that there's just enough backstory to keep the reader afloat in the news story,
Yeah.
but not so much as to spoil anything or drown them in backstory. So you can always jump in anywhere. But if you love series and you want to start with the first one, this is the first one, Bad Blood Sisters. And then this is the second one, Mrs. Oliver's Twist.
Awesome covers. I love your covers so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, well, I just have to say, if you jump right into the second one, you do miss the fun of the romance in the first one, and it develops in the second one. But she is coming back from her honeymoon, so we sort of know how that goes. It's just the way we want it to.
Spoiler for you.
And I know we've chatted about this before, but can you tell us about your research into mortuaries? Because I just find it fascinating. Because that's where Quinn works.
Well, I think my interest in mortuary started when I had a discussion with a cousin who works with dead bodies. And I kind of interviewed her about that because I was going to write a short story about it.
Mhm.
And the things that she told me about how she loves being the last person to do a good deed for the deceased, and how she loves to treat that person with the gentlest care, and what a good feeling it gives her because the person can't thank her,
Mhm.
but she knows that they would be grateful because she would be grateful of somebody taking care of her in this way. And she said when she leaves after having worked on a body, the world seems louder and brighter, and she's like exhilarated to be alive.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And it just struck me as so important, this job of taking care of the dead, that a lot of people wouldn't want to do.
Right.
But it's such an important service to humanity. Somebody has to do it. And the people who do it generally don't talk about it
Mhm.
outside of the mortuary. And sometimes when they're in the mortuary, they make jokes about it because that's a way of handling, keeping it from being depressing or sad,
Mhm.
because they're always with people who are sad.
Yeah.
And then when I started writing mysteries, somebody dies in mystery books, and very often there are funerals. And so I would have funerals in my books, and I started interviewing people who own funeral homes. And they told me some very interesting things also. And that was how, when I came to writing Quinn, I decided to give her this very interesting job.
Mhm.
And it fits with her personality at the beginning of Bad Blood Sisters because she's a little withdrawn from
Mhm.
society. And it it spins into more and more. By the time we get to Mrs. Oliver's Twist, she's eager to move from this position. But I have a lot of good friends now who own funeral homes, and I wanted to show you. One of them gave me this,
Oh my goodness.
a little coffin, but open it up, it's
Oh my
a
gosh.
wine caddy. But it's constructed with all of the precision and detail of a coffin. So it's one of my prized possessions.
That is awesome. I've never seen anything like that before. That's just great. Yeah, and one of the things I like about, Quinn and her family, because it is a family business, is the gallows humor is actually really funny. But then when she's alone with the body, that you feel that care that she's giving, and it makes it a lot less, I perceive the job as creepy. And when you're with Quinn and she's with a body and she's taking care of it, it's not. It's really beautiful. So that
It's really considered part of the medical profession.
yeah, yeah. Well, and it's been sacred for thousands and thousands of years.
Right,
So
right.
um, so there is a bit of a sisters theme in the first two books. Are you going to continue that for the rest of the series? Because I hope you're writing more.
Well, first of all, I'm not in the process of writing anymore at the moment. So, and I love this question about theme because I taught English for a lot of years, and I think that themes in books aren't always planned.
Mhm.
I think that they pop out through the telling of the story. And I think that's true for many of the famous classic authors, that they didn't sit down to write a book about, for example, To Kill a Mockingbird.
That's
I don't think
exactly what I was thinking.
I don't think that Harper Lee intended to write a book about prejudice, but the prejudice theme came out through the actions of the characters in the story. And so the sister theme was kind of an accident in Bad Blood Sisters. I don't have a sister, and neither does Quinn.
Mhm.
But I did have a blood sister. I went through that ritual of, poking your finger and getting a little drop of blood,
If you're a
mixing it
girl,
up.
you poke your finger. If you're a boy, you slash your
Yeah.
thumb.
And so I do have a blood sister, and that's how that sisterish thing came through. Um, and because I don't have a real sister, biological sister, I'm kind of obsessed with sisters, and I have sisters of the heart all over the place. I have sorority sisters, I have sisters in groups that I'm in, and just sisters that I love and spend time with. So I wanted to give that to Quinn also, but her sister relationship is one that's gone bad. And when I started to write the sequel, Mrs. Oliver's Twist, it just so happened that Mrs. Oliver has a sister who is an integral part of the book.
Mhm.
And when that happened, I looked at it on the page and I went, "Oh my goodness, there's a sisters theme here." But I didn't plan it. So, but now that it's there, if I do write a third book, probably there will be sisters
There'll be
in
a sister in
it.
there.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, well, sometimes you just have to let your characters take you where they're going to go, and that includes, calling their sister. So some of Quinn's or some of the characters in the book sees Quinn's trusting nature as a fault. How do you turn that into an asset?
Well, I don't see Quinn as trusting. Um, in fact, when she was young and she went through a trauma in her youth, and that caused her to be not trusting. She has trust issues with people. But what she is somewhat naive.
Okay,
And she
good.
doesn't want to relinquish her view of Mrs. Oliver as the kind, compassionate teacher who helped her through that trauma.
Mhm.
And because of her loyalty to Mrs. Oliver, she is drawn into this police matter that she really does not. She goes kicking and screaming into helping the police with this matter, but she can't say no because it's Mrs. Oliver. So um, she's a little naive about Mrs. Oliver. And I think that she that naivete is her Achilles heel in this book. It gets her into trouble. You know, it's a problem for her. And without giving any spoilers, I think that she does use this trusting relationship that has developed
Mhm.
to turn the tables on somebody.
Yeah.
So it does become an asset for her, as you surmised in your question.
Uh, yeah, she has I love her character arc throughout this book because, she did have that, okay, she's only going to trust this one guy. But she's not going to trust her parents or her brothers or, any of those people. But in this book, she really starts to develop these relationships and um mostly by sharing her secrets. And it does like strengthen her character quite a bit. So yeah, my question was actually, is this going to extend into the next book? But you're not writing it yet, so I can't ask that one.
There's a reason that I'm not ready because I have another series, the Detective Parrot series.
Which is also
And,
awesome.
thank you. And, and I have made it kind of a policy with my writing that I don't write two books in the same series in a row. So I let my characters have their say in each of the books, and then I take a break, and they take a break because they have to, because they've had a lot of things going on. And when they come back to talk to me and whisper in my ear, then I'm ready to start a different book in that series. But in the meantime, I'm on vacation from them, they're on vacation from me. And there's a book that I wanted to write when I was a teenager, and I did a ton of research for it. And it's about my hometown is Galveston, where I live now, and where this book, Mrs. Oliver's Twist, is set.
Mhm.
And there was a 1900 storm, a big hurricane, which is still the yeah, it's the biggest natural disaster in the United States ever, even since 1900. More than 10,000 people died. Most of the island was submerged in water. Um, it was just a
And it
terrible.
like never fully recovered
Right.
the island. Yeah.
So my grandparents came to Galveston shortly after that to help rebuild Galveston. And and that's how I ended up being born here. I'm a third generation Galvestonian. And I've always wanted to write a book about my grandparents because they have a very unique story that I've held back and not told people because I want to write about it. And I also want to write about the 1900 storm, but I'm going to have to do some research again because the research I did was when I was in high school. I did 10 years of research at the library before there was an internet.
Right.
And, uh, and so now I have to go do some more research. So I know that this will be a historical mystery, and I know it's going to take a while. And so Quinn will be on the back burner while that's going on. And so will Detective Parrot.
Yeah. Yeah. You could have Quinn's grandparents in there. Oh, no, that would be so fascinating. Yeah, I forgot why I was looking. I think it was because my daughter at one point was interested in going to Galveston. So I was just kind of looking at its history and I came across that and it was just shocking because Galveston it should be this mecca. Just in this beautiful spot, and it's so idyllic, and it just kind of really took a blow.
Well, at the time of the hurricane, it was considered it was a little New York. It
Yeah,
was it was the biggest city in Texas. It was the Wall Street of the South.
it's a
Lot,
it's a
lots of
great
business
word.
here, lots of famous architects and famous um, people and buildings. We still have, surprisingly, because there have been many bad hurricanes since then, we still have one of the largest collections of Victorian homes in Galveston, um, in the entire country.
Yeah.
So, it's a big part of the culture here.
Yes, sometimes I watch the uh the Fixer Upper Flip My House in
Mhm.
Galveston, whatever that show is. It's just like, oh, it's so pretty. And then they redo it and it's like, oh, it's even prettier. Yeah, just really, really, it's a fascinating history. And oh, I am really excited about you writing this book about your grandparents. This will be awesome.
Well, you need to come visit.
Okay. I will.
Fun.
Um, so in Galveston, you mentioned both the police and the sheriff. Who has jurisdiction?
I love this question. It's never been asked of me before, and I'm so glad to answer it, even though it's a kind of convoluted answer. The city of Galveston has a police force,
Okay.
but the west end of the island, we are an island in the Gulf of America, Gulf of Mexico, uh, and um, and the west end of the island is unincorporated, and so the sheriff has jurisdiction there. So we also have, and on top of that, we have a funny system in Texas. We have school districts have their own police forces. The wharves have their own police forces. So there are many different police forces at work. And then we have constables who are also in charge. So it makes it confusing sometimes as to who is in charge when and where. And you can have sometimes they collaborate and you can have some of everything at the scene of a crime.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's hard to follow a chain of command there.
right.
Yeah, in Arizona, the police are in the city and the sheriff is in the county, but there are county islands within the cities.
Hmm.
So there's that.
Right. And I think they help each other too. Like if if one of them can get to the scene faster
Mhm.
than another entity, then they help out in that way.
That's good.
So,
They're going to be that many. They need to get along.
right, right.
So there is a dog. Quinn has a dog, um, Calvin, and he's such a bright spot in her life and in the books. It's always just like, oh, it's Calvin. And then she gets Holly. So I was wondering if you added Holly because you just wanted to heighten the tension because there are definitely some tense moments with those doggies, or if you just wanted to research puppies because, puppies.
Well, Calvin actually was a dog of mine, a West Highland Terrier. He was my longest living dog, um, and he was exactly like Quinn's Calvin. He was, a little yapper, but so loving and so sweet, and he could sing and very smart. They are very smart dogs and very intuitive about their owners. And Calvin was a favorite character in Bad Blood Sisters. I got a lot of feedback from readers that, oh, he's wonderful. Calvin is the best character and blah, blah, blah. So in my household, our Calvin was best friends with our first Old English sheepdog. And we always had two dogs, one big, one little, one male, one female, and they were always best buddies. And so I decided that Calvin needed another buddy. And that was how the idea of bringing in Holly uh, came into the story. But I also wanted to put them in a little bit of danger. Of course, we know that you can't kill dogs and or babies,
That would be all this interview would be about if you did that.
you can't do that in mysteries, but there is some tension around the dogs.
Mhm,
Also Josh is Quinn's husband.
mhm.
And Josh's mother rescues dogs. And so she has like 7 or 8 dogs, maybe 9. And so Josh has been raised with dogs. And so it's his idea to get another dog.
And yeah, it's just a wonderful little addition and just, so much fun in the midst of everything else she's going through. Just have this little puppy.
Well, I really think pets in mysteries um, are important. I think that they relieve the tension, and you can't just have tension, tense scene,
Right,
because the reader needs some relief too.
right, exactly.
And so pets help provide that comic relief that will kind of lift the mood of the story from time to time.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So Quinn muses about everyone having a public and a private persona. And I'm just wondering if you've ever encountered any that are as complex as the one that's portrayed in this novel, which is borderline personality disorder.
Well, unfortunately, yes.
Oh, that's too bad.
I've encountered it many, many, many times. I was an educator before I started writing,
Mhm.
and I worked in schools. I met tons of families. I was involved. I was an administrator, and so I got to know the family's history and problems and things like that. Um, and I've met people in my own personal life who are borderline personalities. You wouldn't believe this probably, but it's quite common. It's quite common. You probably know quite a few borderline personalities yourself, and you don't know it
That's
because
kind of creepy.
they are very good at masking their symptoms and their problems, and then they come to a point where they decompensate. And so you may not be in the room when that happens, but I've had some very close friends who were borderline personalities. So yes, I know all about that.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. Yeah, because in the book it's just like, no, 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 no. What are you thinking? So yeah, yeah, the personality definitely draws the reader in. Absolutely. So you had said you're gonna let Quinn just kind of take a little bit of a vacation so things can percolate up in Galveston. So what is going to be happening next with Detective Parrot?
But he's on vacation too.
Oh, okay.
He's on vacation too. There are 4 Detective Parrot books,
Mhm.
and they they are set in Brandywine Valley, Pennsylvania. And each book shows a little different slice of what the setting is like there. So we have the horse community there, we have the art community there, we have the natural topography there, we have the bank barns that are associated with that landscape.
Mhm.
And so there's always stuff going on in Brandywine Valley. I have a relative who lives there and keeps me up on what's going on. And also, I'm in touch with a lot of people in the community who are magazine writers and architects and things like that. And so I've always got my ear to the ground to find out what's going on. And some of the plots come from real things that happen there. So, see, I mean, I'm always listening and I'm always observing and then asking, well, what if? What if Parrot walks in on blah, 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 you know? So, yeah.
All right. So our next one will actually be the historical
Right. The
based on
Galveston
things.
book.
Yes. That does just sound so great. I'm really excited for that. So finally, where can our fans reach you, your social medias and whatnot?
Well, I have a website, an author website, which is saralynrichard.com. There are a million ways to misspell Saralyn and Richard. So,
I like to add an S. There's not one.
or pursue N's or an H. Anyway, this is how it's spelled,
Saralyn
saralynrichard.com.
Richard, right there.
And I'm on Facebook and all of the social medias, Instagram. Um, but most of all, I'm on Blackbird Writers. So if anybody's interested in my books, you can get them directly from Blackbird Writers website, and that is blackbirdwriters.com.
Yep. And then we have blogs and well, videos obviously on the Substack, which is Substack blackbirdwriters.com. So yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here today, and thank all of you for watching or listening to Blackbird Writers Presents Author Interviews.
Thank you.
Thank you.